Hello, children. Come, sit close. Today we're going to start a magical journey, a journey that begins a long, long time ago, beside the sparkling, singing waters of the holy Ganga River. Once upon a time, there lived a wise and gentle king named Shantanu. He ruled his kingdom with kindness, fairness, and a warm smile that his people loved. One sunny morning, King Shantanu was walking along the beautiful Ganga River. The breeze was soft, the birds were singing cheerful songs, and the river looked like a silver ribbon dancing under the sunlight. Everything felt peaceful, almost magical. And then, guess what happened? From the glittering river stepped out Mother Ganga herself. Yes, children, the goddess of the holy river. She was glowing like moonlight. Her long hair floated like waves, and her smile was calm like the river itself. King Shantanu was so amazed that his heart felt full of joy. He fell in love with her. Ganga Ma smiled kindly. She said she would marry the king, but only if he made one promise. A very strange promise. She said, "You must never question anything I do, not even once. If you do, I will have to leave you." The king loved her so much, he agreed without hesitation. Days passed happily, and soon a baby was born to them. But something surprising happened. Every time a baby came into the world, Gangama gently lifted the little one and placed the baby on a magical lotus boat floating on the river. The lotus glowed like gold and slowly carried the baby away. King Shantanu watched silently. His heart felt heavy. He wished to hold his children, play with them, and hear their little giggles. But he remembered his promise, a promise made out of love. And now, children, here comes the magical part. Mother Ganga wasn't being unkind at all. Those 7 babies were actually the 7 vases, tiny celestial beings who had once been cursed to be born on earth. To free them from the curse, Ganga Ma was sending them back to their heavenly home through the shining lotus boats. If you listen closely, you can almost hear their happy laughter as they turned into bright, sparkling stars and flew up into the sky. That light sprinkled across the heavens like little diamonds. But after the 7th baby, something changed. When the 8th baby was born, King Shantanu could not stay silent anymore. His heart burst with love, and he finally cried, "Stop! Please don't take this child away." Gangama gently nodded. She said, "This child, this one, will live on earth. He will become strong, wise, and the greatest hero your kingdom has ever known." And that baby was Bhishma, the mighty warrior, the protector of Dharma, and one of the most noble souls in all of history. She gives the child to the king and immerse in the holy water. So children, because King Shantanu and Ganga Ma kept their promises with trust, love, and respect, a legendary hero was born who would shape the future of the world. And that brings us to today's lesson. Moral of the story: keeping promises builds trust. Keeping promises brings happiness. And sometimes keeping promises creates miracles.
Today, I am going to tell you the story of the greatest promise ever made. Ready? Let's begin. One day, King Shantanu was walking beside the Ganga River. It's been years that he has missed his dear wife, Ganga. Just then, he sees the beautiful Satyavati rowing her boat across the river. King Shantanu, after so many years, fell in love again. Satyavati is the fisherman's daughter. King approached the fisherman to ask for her hand in marriage, but the fisherman said, "Only if my daughter's sons become kings." Poor Shantanu's heart broke. A big rainy cloud appeared over his head. Few days passed. Prince Devavrata saw his father sad, and he thought, "I cannot see my father like this." And he jumped on his white horse, dak, 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 and rode straight to the river. He was greeted by the fishermen and his colony, where he shared his condition for the marriage. Standing on the hill, Devavrata raised his hand to the sky and said in a voice like thunder, "I, Devavrata, take a terrible and great vow today. I will never marry. I will never have children. I will protect the throne of Hastinapur all my life." Suddenly, boom! The sky opened like a giant curtain. Gods and angels appeared, showering millions of flowers, red, yellow, pink, white, like colorful rain. The gods shouted together, "Bhishma! Bhishma!" From that day, he became known as Bhishma, the one who took the terrifying vow. Because of Bhishma's love and sacrifice, King Shantanu became happy again and married Satyavati. So, my sweet children, always remember, the biggest superpower is not flying or lifting mountains. The biggest superpower is keeping your promise. Whenever you promise mommy, daddy, or your friends something, keep it with a smile, just like Bhishma. Now say after me, "I will always keep my promise." Wonderful! I heard you. Today I am going to tell you about Pandavas and Kauravas. King Shantanu had sons, and from those sons he had 3 grandsons, Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidur. His eldest grandson was Dhritarashtra, who was blind by birth. Dhritarashtra married Gandhari, a princess who chose to blindfold herself forever so that she would share her husband's blindness. Together, they were blessed with 100 sons, known as the Kauravas. The eldest among them was Duryodhana. From his grandson Pandu, who was strong and healthy, he had 5 sons, and they were known as Pandavas. Their mother's name was Kunti. Kunti was blessed by gods, and each of her sons had qualities that was comparable to gods. Let's begin. First comes the eldest brother, Yudhishthira. He is called Dharmaraj because he never tells a lie, not even in dreams. Look at his calm smile and kind eyes, a small golden crown with a peacock feather, and a gentle golden glow all around. Whenever he walks, little sparkling stars follow him. He is the Prince of Truth and Justice. Next, boom! Here comes Bhima, the strongest boy in the whole world. He can lift mountains and eat 1,000 rotis in one meal. See his huge mace shining like the sun, red clothes and super big muscles. But don't be scared. He has the biggest heart and loves protecting everyone, especially his brothers. Now meet the greatest archer ever, Arjuna. Look at his magical bow Gandiva that shines like gold and rainbow. Green gold armor, long hair in warrior style, and a tiny sparkling third eye on his forehead. Lord Shiva and Lord Krishna both love him the most. When he shoots arrows, they turn into flowers or fire, whatever he wants. And here come the youngest brothers, the handsome twins Nakula and Sahadeva. Nakula is the most beautiful boy in the world. Even gods become jealous. He wears silver blue clothes and pearls. Sahadeva is the wisest. He knows everything about animals, stars, and future. He wears silver purple and always has a cute owl on his shoulder. Together they are unbeatable. These 5 brothers are the Pandavas: Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva. They love each other more than anything. When they stand together, even the sun shines brighter. Now meet the opposite side, Duryodhana, eldest of the 100 Kauravas. He is very strong and clever, but very, very jealous of the Pandavas. Black red armor, spiky crown, angry red eyes, and dark clouds behind him. He always carries a heavy golden mace and wants the whole kingdom for himself. And so, children, The stage is set. The princes of the Kuru dynasty are born. They will grow together, play together, and learn together. But destiny has something else planned. Cousins who would one day face each other in the greatest war ever fought, the Kurukshetra War. From love and sacrifice, from vows and blessings, begins the great tale of the Mahabharata. Morale, sacrifice, promises, and destiny shape our lives. Bhishma's vow teaches us the value of commitment, while Kunti's faith teaches us that courage brings blessings. Remember, truth, love, and friendship, like Pandavas, always win in the end. Jealousy and anger, like Duryodhana, only bring sadness. Whose team are you on? Pandavas? I hope you're excited because today we're going into one of the most fun and important chapters of the Mahabharata, the education of the Pandavas and Kauravas. But first, do you remember their names? Let's check. Repeat after me. Ready? 5 Pandavas: Yudhishthir, Bhim, Arjun, Nakul, and Sahadev. Very good. And who was the eldest of the Kauravas? Yes, Duryodhan. Smart kids. As the princes started growing older, it was time for them to begin their education. Just like you go to school, the Pandavas and Kauravas needed teachers too. Teachers who could guide them to become wise, brave, and responsible leaders. The first teacher who came to the palace was Guru Kripacharya. Guru Kripa was calm, gentle, and full of knowledge. He taught the princes about the Vedas, ancient scriptures, morals, good conduct, and how to respect elders and teachers. The boys learned discipline, prayer, and the meaning of Dharma. One day, a tall, powerful warrior sage entered Hastinapura, the great Guru Dronakarya. He carried a bow, wore simple robes, and walked with the confidence of a true master. Guru Drona looked at them and said, "Children, I will teach you the art of warfare. I will make you the finest warriors in the world." The training began the very next day. And oh boy, was it tough. But also exciting. Drona taught them. Every prince had a special talent. Yudhishthira, the calmest of all, excelled in truth, justice, and leadership. His strength was his fairness. Bhima trained with the heavy mace or gada. Every time he lifted it, thud, the ground shook. No surprise he became the strongest warrior. Arjuna. Arjuna. He loved the bow and arrow so much that he practiced day and night. He trained in sunlight, moonlight, and even during rain. He soon became Drona's favorite student. Nakul became a master swordsman. He was fast, graceful, and sharp like lightning. Sahadeva learned the art of horse riding and sword play. He was gentle, quiet, but very, very smart. Even the Kauravas trained hard. Duryodhana especially practiced the mace, always trying to become stronger than Bhima. There was competition, there were arguments, but the training pushed every prince to grow into a warrior. One day, Guru Drona decided to test who had the greatest focus. He placed a small wooden bird high on a tree. He called all the princes together. "Your task," he said, "is to aim at the bird's eye. But before shooting, I want each of you to tell me what you see." First came Yudhishthira. "Son, what do you see?" Yudhishthira replied, "I see the tree, the sky, the leaves, and the bird." Drona shook his head. "Not enough focus. Step back." Next came Nakul, Sahadeva, Bhima, and even Duryodhana. Each described many things they saw around the bird. Drona sighed. Their aim will not be true, he thought. Finally, it was Arjuna's turn. "Arjuna, what do you see?" the guru asked. Arjuna replied calmly, "I see only the bird's eye." Drona leaned closer. "Only the eye? Nothing else?" Arjuna said, "No, master, I see nothing else." Drona's face lit up with pride. "Shoot!" Arjuna released the arrow. Whoosh! and it hit the wooden bird exactly in the center of the eye. All the princes gasped in amazement. From that moment onward, everyone knew Arjuna was the greatest archer. But children, this story is incomplete without telling you about Ekalavya. Ekalavya was a tribal boy who wanted to learn archery from Drona, but Drona refused, as he was only allowed to teach the princes. Still, Ekalavya made a statue of Drona in the forest and practiced day and night, treating the statue as his guru. His devotion was so great that he became even better than Arjuna. When Drona saw this, he was surprised but also bound by his promise to make Arjuna the best. He asked Ekalavya for Guru Dakshina, a gift from the student to his teacher. Do you know what Ekalavya gave? His own thumb. Ekalavya cut off his thumb without hesitation and offered it to Drona. He sacrificed his skill out of respect for his guru. Though it is a sad story, it teaches us the lesson of devotion, sacrifice, and respect for teachers. So children, today we learned about the amazing education of the Pandavas and Kauravas. We learned that true focus, like Arjuna, makes you the best at what you do. Respect for teachers is important because they guide us with love. Hard work and dedication always shine through. Sacrifice, like Ekalavya's, shows deep devotion. Thank you for joining today's story. See you next time, my little warriors.
Hello, children. Today we have arrived at one of the most exciting days in the entire kingdom of Hastinapur. The day everyone has been waiting for years. The grand display of skills by the Pandavas and the Kauravas after completing their education in the Gurukul. A huge arena has been set up in front of the palace. Drums echo all around, conch shells are blowing, and crowds of people are gathered, excited and eager, because today they will finally see how far each prince has come. To start things off, here comes the moment everyone has been waiting for. The mace battle between Bhima and Duryodhana. Both warriors step into the arena, huge, powerful, fearless, their eyes locked on each other. Bang! The first strike lands, and it feels as if lightning has cracked through the sky. Dadam! The second strike shakes the ground. The crowd is stunned. The greatest warriors of the Kuru dynasty are clashing with equal strength today. Bhima attacks with full force. Duryodhana dodges swiftly and counters immediately. Their maces slice through the air. Dust rises and everyone watches, holding their breath. Suddenly, Guru Dronacharya and Bhishma stand up and command. Enough! Both are extraordinary! Stop the duel! The battle is halted, but everyone understands. These two warriors will one day fight the fiercest battle of Kurukshetra. Now it's time for archery. All the princes stand in a line, ready to test their aim. They begin shooting arrows at distant targets. Some arrows miss completely. Some barely touch the mark. But only Arjuna hits the target every single time. Guru Drona proudly calls him forward. Arjuna lifts his bow. Gandiva shines brilliantly, and the moment he releases his arrow, whoosh! The arrow flies into the air, cuts through 5 wooden targets one after another, and finally pierces a small rotating disc perfectly. The crowd erupts. Arjuna, amazing, bravo! Dronacharya smiles and says, my dearest and most devoted student and the best archer in the world. Suddenly, a radiant young warrior enters the arena. Karna, people whisper among themselves. Who is he? He looks so powerful. Look at that shining bow. Karna looks at Arjuna and declares, everything I have seen today, I alone can challenge you. Arjuna, will you fight me? The arena falls silent. Arjuna steps forward, but before he can respond, Bhishma intervenes. Stop, Karna. Prince Arjuna can only fight someone of equal rank and birth. You do not have that right yet. A shadow of humiliation crosses Karna's face. Duryodhana notices it and immediately steps forward. Duryodhana announces loudly, "From today, Karna is the king of Anga. Now he has every right to fight." The crowd gasps for a moment, and then bursts into applause and cheers. Karna bows before Duryodhana. "From this day onwards, my loyalty, my friendship, my life, everything belongs to you." Duryodhana smiles. At last, he has found a true rival for Arjuna. Karna shoots an arrow toward the sky, and it creates a storm-like force above. Arjuna quickly shoots his own arrow, and with a single shot, he calms the entire storm. Just then, Dronakarya declares, "Today's display ends here. The real battles will happen another day." The crowd slowly begins to leave, but one question remains in everyone's mind. When will Arjuna and Karna truly battle? Destiny had its own plans. Karna was no ordinary warrior. He was the son of the sun god, born to Kunti before her marriage and secretly set afloat in the river. This truth remained hidden from all. Karna only knew the pain of rejection and the comfort of Duryodhana's friendship. The Pandavas watched silently. For the first time, Arjuna felt a real challenger. Bhima clenched his teeth in anger. Yudhishthira stayed calm, but quietly sensed the storm that was coming. Karna was the eldest brother of the Pandavas. They just didn't know it. Thus, the rivalry between Arjuna and Karna grew even deeper. Moral of today's story, Bako, is that talent is not defined by birth. It grows through effort. True friendship can change destinies. Respect and recognition are sometimes more valuable than strength. A friendship born in adversity can alter history. Take care, kids. Value your friendships. Bye-bye. Welcome, kids. Good to see you back. Hope you are having fun and learning at the same time. Let's start today's story. The Kuru princes were growing older, and Hastinapur was buzzing with excitement. Every day the training grounds echoed with the sounds of arrows slicing through the air, maces crashing together, and the soft footsteps of warriors practicing their skills. Arjun shoots arrows with such speed and grace and helps the villagers at every possible opportunity. They adore him. Bhim is strong and all hearts. He is playful and gentle with everyone. Sehdev helps villagers and fishermen by building bridges to make their lives easier. And Yudhishthir, oh, Yudhishthir shone like the gentle morning sun. He was calm, wise, and spoke with a kindness that made everyone trust him. Soon, whispers began to float through the palace corridors. Yudhishthir is so fair, so honest. He will be the perfect king one day. Hastinapur will prosper under him. Duryodhan, on the other hand, after their graduation was busy in never-ending celebrations. But these whispers, meant as praise, fell like burning coals into Duryodhana's ears and heart. Every time he heard someone praise Yudhishthir, his jaw tightened. Every time someone admired Arjun, jealousy grew stronger inside him. He wanted the throne. He believed it was his birthright, and he could not bear the thought of Yudhishthir becoming king. One evening, Duryodhan rushed into the room of his uncle Shakuni, who was quietly rolling dice made of bone. "Uncle," Duryodhana burst out, "the people, the elders, everyone says Yudhishthir will be king. I cannot allow that. Tell me what to do." Shakuni looked up with a cold smile, his eyes glittering with mischief and danger. "Oh, my dear nephew," he whispered, "sometimes a sword is too obvious. Sometimes fire is a better weapon." Duryodhana leaned closer. "Fire?" Shakuni nodded. "A fire that leaves no witnesses, no proof, no questions." Soon a plan took form. dark and shiny like hot oil. A beautiful palace was ordered to be built in the distant town of Varnavrat. It sparkled like a palace from a fairy tale. Tall pillars, shining walls, colorful decorations, and glowing halls where lantern light danced. But beneath the beauty hid a dangerous secret. Every wall, every beam, every panel was made of lacquer, a sticky, glossy substance that burns faster than dry grass. The floors were polished with ghee. The decorations were coated with oil. Even the pillars were wrapped with resin-filled bamboo. The palace was a trap just waiting to burn. Shakuni whispered to Dhritarashtra, "Send the Pandavas to enjoy a festival there. Let them relax. Trust. Feel safe." And then Duryodhan completed the sentence with a smile. "The fire will do the rest." Dhritarashtra hesitated. He loved the Pandavas in his own way. But fear, weakness, and his love for Duryodhan clouded his judgment. He agreed. The Pandavas were told, "Go enjoy the festival of Varnavrat. A beautiful palace has been made just for you." The people cheered as the Pandavas and Kunti left, throwing flowers, waving cloths, and wishing them joy. No one knew that a deadly trap had already been set. But Hastinapur still had one voice of truth, Vidur. Before the Pandavas left, he called Yudhishthira aside and spoke softly, in words that only the wise could understand. "Fire burns the strongest walls, but water always finds a way to escape. Remember this when danger surrounds you." Yudhishthira bowed. He understood perfectly. Vidur suspected a scheme. When the Pandavas reached the palace of Varnavrat, they marveled at its beauty. The shining walls, the colorful hangings, the soft golden glow of oil lamps. But Yudhishthir walked through the halls, touching the walls gently. The smell of oil, the smoothness of lacquer. He knew this was no palace of celebration. It was a palace of fire. Immediately, they began digging a secret tunnel under the palace, a long passage that would lead far into the forest. A trusted miner helped them, working at night while the brothers guarded the door. Days passed. They attended festivals, met villagers, laughed politely. But inside, they waited and watched. They knew the fire would come. They just did not know when. Then came a night filled with music and joy. A feast was arranged, tables full of food, musicians playing flutes and drums, people dancing under lanterns. The Pandavas pretended to enjoy the celebration. They smiled, they danced, they thanked everyone. But inside their hearts beat quickly. After the celebration, they quietly returned to their rooms. Outside, in the darkness, the conspirators whispered, "Now, light it now." A torch touched the lacquered wall. Instantly, the flame ran like a living creature. Fast, hungry, unstoppable. The palace of Varnavrat burst into flames. The fire climbed the walls like fiery serpents, crushed the roof, and created a cage of burning heat. People in the town screamed. They pointed at the burning palace, shouting, "The Pandavas! The Pandavas are inside." But deep underground, Kunti and her 5 sons crawled through the tunnel, their bodies shaking with fear and smoke. The tunnel was narrow, dark, and filled with dust. Kunti's sari caught on a rock. Arjuna helped her. Bhima carried 2 of his brothers when the heat above became unbearable. Yudhishthir guided everyone forward calmly. At last, after what felt like hours, they emerged into the cool night air of the forest. They were safe, alive. Their clothes were blackened, their hair smelled of smoke, but their spirits burned brighter than the fire they escaped. At sunrise, smoke still curled into the sky. People cried, believing their beloved princes were gone. Duryodhana smiled. He thought he had won. But destiny had other plans. Far away, the Pandavas stood in the morning light of the forest, tired, injured, but alive. They had lost everything, but they had each other. Their journey of hardship had begun, but so had their journey of greatness. This was not the end of the Pandavas. This was only the beginning. Moral of the story: jealousy destroys, but courage, wisdom, and unity can defeat even the darkest plots. When your heart is honest, a path will always open, even through fire. That's all for today, kids. Today's lesson is very important. Don't let jealousy cloud your judgment. Joes, welcome back to our magical story time. Let's dive right into our epic tale where we left off last time. The night sky glowed red behind them as the palace of Lak burned to ashes. But far away in the deep forest, the Pandavas and Kunti walked silently, step by step. Their hearts were pounding from the escape. Their feet were sore. Their bodies were covered with soot. But they were alive, and that was enough. They knew one thing clearly. They could not let the world know they had survived. If news reached Hastinapur, Duryodhana and Shakuni would try again, this time with something far worse than fire. So the Pandavas left behind everything they once knew: their palace, their comforts, their identity. Royal clothes were replaced with simple wraps of white and beige clothes. Gold ornaments were abandoned. Like shadows drifting between trees, they moved deeper into the forest, farther from danger and closer to destiny. The forest was vast and wild. Thorny bushes scratched their feet. The cries of wolves echoed at night. Sometimes the air smelled of fear, and sometimes of rain. But the Pandavas walked on. Bhim carried Kunti on his shoulders like a living mountain. Every step he took said, "Mother, you are safe with me." Arjun hunted silently with his bow, bringing down birds, deer, and wild rabbits so that no one in the family slept hungry. Yudhishthira guided them with wisdom. "Brothers, anger will tire you, but patience will carry you forward." Nakul and Sahadev, though young, gathered fruits, collected herbs, and kept the fire burning at night. The days were hot, the nights were cold. Food was scarce, but love was not. The hardships of the forest wove the Pandavas together like threads of steel. Strong, unbreakable. To protect themselves from being recognized, the Pandavas disguised themselves as Brahmins. They walked barefoot into small villages, accepting alms, bowing respectfully, speaking little. Villagers saw them and thought, just holy wanderers seeking food and shelter. No one imagined that the boys standing humbly before them were princes of the mighty Kuru dynasty. Even in rags, the Pandavas carried themselves with the grace of royalty. One night, as they rested under tall forest trees, a new danger crept toward them. A Rakshasa named Hidimba smelled the scent of humans. His hunger awakened like fire. "Hidimbi," he growled to his sister, "go bring them to me. Tonight I shall feast." Obedient but curious, Hidimbi walked toward the humans. But when she saw Bhim, strong, tall, fearless, her heart changed. Not with hunger, but with love. She approached Bhim and whispered, "You are strong as a mountain. Leave this forest with me. I will protect you from my brother." Bhim refused, but his eyes softened with kindness. Before he could speak further, the forest shook. Hidimba charged in like a storm. The trees trembled, the earth cracked, birds flew from their nests in fear. Bhim stood tall like a lion. The battle began. The clash of their fight echoed like thunder. Bhim leapt, twisted, and struck with power that shook the entire forest. And then, with one mighty blow, Hidimba fell. The danger was gone, but Hidimbi, heartbroken yet brave, begged softly, "Bhim, I love you. Stay with me, if only for a short time." Kunti understood the purity in her eyes and said, "Bhim, this is destiny. Stay with her for some time." And from their union was born a child unlike any other, Gatotkacha. With large expressive eyes, a mischievous smile, and the strength of a young Titan, he was destined to be a hero in the great war of Kurukshetra. Bhim played with him, lifted him high in the air, and Gatotkacha laughed like thunder. But time came for Bhim to leave. Hidimbi hugged him tightly, tears shining in her eyes, while Gatotkacha watched with sadness. Bhim said, "I must go, but you and our son will forever be in my heart." With heavy hearts, the Pandavas continued their wandering life. They did not know where destiny would lead them. But destiny already knew. The flames of the palace were behind them, but the fire of destiny was just beginning to glow. In the hardest times, family unity becomes the greatest strength. Each trial we face is shaping us for a greater purpose. Even in disguise, truth and character shine brighter than jewels. All right, kids, time for me to rest now. Jai Shri Krishna. Welcome back, kids. Ready for the next story? Good. Let's begin. In the last episode, I spoke about the hardships of Pandavas in the forest. Far away from the forests where the Pandavas wandered, another kingdom was preparing for a moment that would change the world. The kingdom of Panchala. King Drupad walked through his grand palace halls with a sense of pride and purpose. For today, he was preparing for the Swayamvar of his daughter, Draupadi, also known as Krishna. Draupadi was not an ordinary princess. She had emerged from a sacred fire ritual, a yajna, created by destiny itself. Her beauty was breathtaking, skin glowing like morning gold, eyes shimmering like pure flame, and a grace that made the world pause. The Swayamvara hall was decorated with golden pillars, silk banners, flower garlands, and shining lamps. Princes from every corner of Bharat had arrived, kings, warriors, archers, and nobles. In the center of the arena stood a mighty bow, enormous, heavy, impossible for ordinary men. Above it, a wheel rotated constantly with a tiny target, the eye of a golden fish carved at the top. Below it was a bowl of water, its ripples reflecting the spinning wheel above. The challenge was clear. Lift the bow, string it, and shoot the arrow at the fish's eye, but only by looking at its reflection in the water. A challenge of strength, a challenge of focus, a challenge of destiny. Among those who arrived were the Kauravas, proud and confident, Karn, shining like a sun, Duryodhan, flanked by his 99 brothers, proud and overconfident, and 5 quiet Brahmins, the Pandavas in disguise. One by one, princes attempted the challenge. Some tried to lift the bow and failed miserably. Some lifted it, only for it to slip and fall with a loud crash. Some strung it incorrectly, and the bow snapped back. The crowd laughed. Some gasped, some whispered. Duryodhana stepped forward. He struggled, he grunted, but he failed. More princes tried, each one returning to their seat defeated and embarrassed. Then Karna rose. Gasps filled the hall. His armor gleamed. His confidence shook the air. He lifted the bow with ease, as if it were made of flowers. Silence spread through the hall like a wave. But as Karna prepared to shoot, Draupadi stood up. Her voice rang clear. "I shall not marry the son of a charioteer." A hush fell. A few gasps, a sting of insult. Karna's face tightened. Without another word, he stepped away from the bow and left the arena. King Drupad was getting worried and restless. No prince could do the task at hand. Then, from among the Brahmins, a young man rose. His eyes were calm, his posture is steady, his movements are graceful. It was Arjuna, though no one knew. People whispered, "A Brahmin? How can he succeed where great warriors failed?" Arjuna bowed before the bow with respect. He took a breath and lifted it with surprising ease. The hall went silent. He strung it smoothly. He positioned himself before the bowl of water. He did not look at the fish, only at its reflection. His breath slowed. His mind sharpened. The arrow flew, straight, true, flawless. The fish's eye was hit. The hall erupted in thunderous applause. Drupada stood proud. Draupadi lowered her eyes shyly. Destiny had spoken. Draupadi had found her husband. But not everyone celebrated. Warriors jumped to their feet, shouting, "How can a Brahmin take Draupadi? This is unfair!" Weapons clashed. Princes charged forward. But Bhim roared like a lion, lifting his mace to block the attackers. Arjun stood firm, protecting Draupadi with his bow drawn. Nakul and Sahadev guarded the rear. Yudhishthir kept everyone coordinated. Against all odds, the Pandavas fought off the angry princes and escaped with Draupadi before more chaos erupted. They returned to their humble hut, Draupadi walking shyly behind them. Excited, they called out, "Mother, look what we have brought today." Without turning around, without knowing what they meant, Kunti spoke her usual instruction. "Whatever it is, share it equally among yourselves." Her words were simple, innocent. But when she saw Draupadi standing there, she was shocked. "Oh no, I spoke without knowing." But Yudhishthira said gently, "Mother, your words are holy. We must honor them." Draupadi also understood. Destiny had spoken through Kunti's lips. Thus Draupadi became the wife of all 5 Pandavas, not out of confusion, but out of respect for their mother, unity among brothers, and the path destiny had written long ago. So, dear children, what did we learn today? Words have power. Always speak with care. Respect for parents protects the harmony of a family. Unity makes a family stronger than any challenge. Destiny can reveal itself in the most ordinary moments. This was the wonderful story of Draupadi, who was later also known as Panchali. Keep having fun, bacho. Jai Shri Krishna. Radhe Radhe. Hello, kids. Welcome back. Hope you are well. Let's start today's story, where I will also talk about Lord Krishna. The small hut where the Pandavas lived was filled with silence. Kunti stared at Draupadi, realizing what her words had caused. Her voice trembled. I did not know what you brought, my sons. I spoke without seeing." But in those ancient times, a mother's spoken words were sacred. The sages who were present said, "What is spoken with purity becomes destiny." Draupadi's heart was beating fast. This was not what she expected. She had come with Arjuna, and now she was destined to marry all 5 brothers. But Draupadi was no ordinary woman. With grace in her eyes and strength in her heart, she stepped forward and bowed. "I accept what destiny has written for me." As preparations for the wedding began, a chariot approached, decorated with peacock feathers and golden bells. Inside sat Krishna, the prince of Dwarka. The moment he stepped down, it felt as if the world glowed a little brighter. His smile carried warmth, his eyes carried wisdom, and his presence carried divinity. He embraced the Pandavas lovingly. He blessed Draupadi. "May your life be filled with strength, devotion, and purpose," he said gently. This was the moment the Pandavas found not just a friend, not just a guide, but a protector chosen by destiny itself. Far away in Hastinapura, news arrived. The Pandavas are alive. They have married Draupadi. They have returned stronger than before. Duryodhana's fury shook the palace. What? They survived? And now the greatest kings support them. His jealousy burned like fire. Shakuni whispered, "This is dangerous for us." But Bhishma and Vidura stood before King Dhritarashtra like pillars of truth. The Pandavas have a rightful claim. If you deny them their share, disaster will follow. Dhritarashtra, blind in sight and troubled in mind, knew they were right. To prevent war, King Dhritarashtra announced, "Let the kingdom be divided." The Kauravas would rule Hastinapura. The Pandavas would receive land. But what land? Kandavaprastha, a barren, dry stretch of wilderness filled with thorny bushes, wild animals, and poisonous snakes. Vidur informed the Pandavas about the decision. Bhim was upset, Arjun felt disappointed, but Yudhishthira calmly reassured his brothers. The moment they stepped into Kandavaprastha, they realized how harsh their challenge truly was. The ground was cracked and dry, like an old clay pot left in the sun for too long. The wind carried dust instead of fragrance. Everywhere they looked, there were thorny bushes, endless, stubborn, and sharp. Tall, twisted trees stood like dark shadows with no leaves, their branches reaching out like claws. Yudhishthir spoke gently. "Brothers, greatness is not in what we receive. Greatness is in what we create." Krishan smiled at his words. "Land is only as barren as the heart of the person who sees it," Krishan said softly. "Where some see wasteland, others see possibilities." And with that, everything changed. The Pandavas began their work. Workers arrived from nearby villages. Carpenters, potters, masons, gardeners, all inspired by the courage of the Pandavas. The sound of tools echoed through the air. Hammers tapped like rhythmic drums. Wooden carts rolled in, carrying stones, bricks, and timber. Bhim pulled out giant trees with his bare hands, the roots flying into the air. Arjun used his arrows to shape the land, clearing paths by burning bushes and guiding water to flow in the right direction. Nakul calmed frightened animals and moved them to safer places. Sahadev worked with farmers, teaching them how to enrich the soil. Krishan walked among them, offering wisdom, laughter, and hope. Weeks passed, months passed. The barren land began to breathe again. Small streams appeared, then ponds, then gardens. Green leaves sprouted where only dust had lived. Flowers bloomed in colors no one had ever seen. Fruit trees swayed gently in the wind. And then came the palaces. Magnificent structures rose from the ground, marble floors glowing in the sunlight, golden pillars standing tall like hopeful dreams, crystal clear fountains dancing in the courtyards. Kunti was overjoyed to see the transformation. She helped Nakul and Sahadev plant saplings, flowers, and fruit trees. People gasped in amazement. "What magic is this? How did a desert become heaven?" The Pandavas had worked tirelessly under the guidance of Sri Krishna to make this happen. They looked proudly at the beautiful city they had built. They all thanked Sri Krishna, and he smiled and blessed them. Draupadi was filled with happiness. Kandavaprastha transformed into a jewel of a city. Indraprastha, a city so divine, even the gods looked down with admiration. The Pandavas finally had a kingdom worthy of their greatness. So kids, what do we learn from today's story? Even barren land can bloom when guided by courage, unity, and wisdom. Greatness is never given. It is built with hard work and hope. Keep working hard toward your goals and keep having fun. Jai Shri Krishna. Welcome back, young heroes. Today's story is one of victory, pride, magic, and a dangerous spark that would shape the future of the Mahabharata. Sit tight, because this journey will take you from the glittering throne of Indraprastha to the burning jealousy in Duryodhana's heart. Indraprastha was now shining like a jewel in the heart of Bharat. The streets were filled with music, markets buzzed with life, and people spoke with pride. Yudhishthira is the greatest king we have ever known. But Yudhishthira, the calm, gentle, truthful king, had a dream not of power, but of Dharma, of righteousness. He wished to perform the Rajasuya Yajna, a sacred ceremony so grand that only an emperor could attempt it. Krishna visited Indraprastha at that time. Yudhishthira bowed to him and said, Krishna, I wish to perform the Rajasuya. I want to unite Bharat in peace. Krishna smiled softly. O Yudhishthira, your heart is pure. Rajasuya will give you not only fame and wealth, but also Dharma, the power to protect your people. Those words encouraged Yudhishthira, and the preparations began. To perform the Rajasuya, every king had to accept Yudhishthira as emperor. So the four Pandava brothers set out in the four directions. Bhima, with his unmatched strength, went to the east. He challenged mighty kings in wrestling matches and defeated them with ease. Arjuna rode to the north. Through snowy mountains, deep forests, and river valleys, no warrior could stand against his arrows. Nakula journeyed west, charming kings with diplomacy and swordsmanship. Sahadeva marched south, where kings respected his wisdom and agreed to support Indraprastha peacefully. Soon, gold, silver, precious gems, elephants, horses, and rare gifts arrived at Indraprastha. Tribute after tribute filled the halls. The world now recognized Yudhishthira as a rightful emperor. Indraprastha shone like heaven on earth. Kings, sages, warriors, and nobles from across the land gathered. The Kauravas arrived too, Duryodhana, Shakuni, Karna, and along with them came wise Bhishma, Dronakarya, and Dhritarashtra. Huge pavilions were decorated with flowers. Sacred fires blazed bright. Drums echoed across the palace. The entire kingdom vibrated with celebration. One question still remained. Who deserves the first honor, the Agriya Puja? Bhishma rose from his seat. His voice was calm yet powerful. There is only one who deserves the highest honor, Krishna, the protector of Dharma. The hall erupted with cheers. Krishna stepped forward with gentle humility. Garlands were placed around his neck. Drums sounded, conch shells blew. People bowed in respect. But not everyone was pleased. Shishupala, king of Chedi, stood up in fury. His eyes burned with jealousy. How dare you honor Krishna first? He's just a cowherd, just a prince. I refuse to accept this insult, he shouted. He insulted Krishna once, twice, 10 times, 20 times. Krishna stayed calm. He had promised Shishupala's mother he would forgive 100 insults. The count rose, 60, 80, 90, 100. Then Shishupala continued, 101. Krishna closed his eyes. The time has come. Suddenly, he raised his Sudarshana chakra. The divine disk flashed through the hall like lightning. In a single moment, Shishupala fell. Silence filled the chamber. Everyone understood. Krishna does not punish out of anger. He punishes only to protect Dharma. The Rajasuya ceremony ended with glory. Yudhishthira was now emperor of Bharat. After the ceremony, Duryodhana wandered through the magical palace created by the great architect Maya. This palace was unlike any ever seen. The floors looked like clear water, but were actually crystal. The ponds looked so real, yet were illusions. As Duryodhana walked, he suddenly stepped into a pool, thinking it was a solid floor. Splash! Draupadi laughed openly. Her words were sharp. The blind man's son is blind indeed. It was a joke, but it hit Duryodhana's heart like a spear. His face burned with shame. His fists tightened. His eyes filled with hatred. He stormed out of the palace, trembling with anger. Back in Hastinapura, Duryodhana lay on his bed, angry, humiliated, unable to sleep. He refused food, refused water, refused to speak. He replayed the laughter again and again in his mind. How dare they laugh at me? How dare they humiliate the son of a king? I will destroy them. I will take everything they own. Shakuni entered the room, smiling darkly. Why use war, my dear nephew? War is risky, but there is something better. Shakuni finished. A game. A simple game of dice. And in that moment, a game was born that would tear apart families, kingdoms, and the future of Bharat, a game that would lead to exile, humiliation, and eventually war. Moral of the story: pride and jealousy can blind even the strongest. True greatness lies in humility, purity, and controlling one's ego. Jai Shri Krishna. Har Har Mahadev. Welcome back, my young heroes. Today we reach one of the most important and emotional chapters of the Mahabharata. A chapter that teaches us what happens when jealousy grows too big, and how courage and dignity shine even in the darkest times. After the Rajasuya Yagya, something dangerous grew inside Duryodhan. Not a fire outside, but a fire inside his heart. He could not stop remembering Draupadi's laughter, the people praising Yudhishthir. Every thought felt like a spark that made his anger hotter and hotter. He said to his uncle Shakuni, I cannot live peacefully while the Pandavas have everything. Their palace, their glory, their strength. I want it all. Shakuni smiled a slow, cunning smile. My dear nephew, we do not need war to defeat them. We just need a game. They both conspired and convinced King Dhritarashtra to invite Yudhishthir to Hastinapur to celebrate his success and play a game of dice. King calls Vidar to go as his messenger and invite them. Vidar gets worried to hear this and goes to meet Bhishma, but he has to go. Vidar meets Yudhishthir and invite them. Yudhishthir said quietly, if the invitation comes from family, I must accept. Little did he know, this was the door to his greatest test. The hall was ready. Shakuni sat with the dice, and he was known to be a master, not because of luck, but because he played with trick dice that obeyed his will. The Pandavas took their seats. The Kauravas watched with hungry eyes. Yudhishthir said, we will play, but only fairly. Shakuni smiled. Of course. And the game began. But every time the dice rolled, Shakuni won. Not once, not twice, but again and again and again. The hall filled with whispers. What is happening? Yudhishthir never loses like this. But he kept playing, because in those days, a Kshatriya did not leave a challenge unfinished, and Shakuni knew that. Slowly, painfully, Yudhishthir lost. His gold, his jewels, his horses, his army, his kingdom, his brothers. 4 brave warriors, Bhim, Arjun, Nakul, Sahadev, became lost in a cruel game. And then, Yudhishthir made one final mistake. In desperation, he said, I still have one more thing, Draupadi. The hall gasped. Draupadi, the pride of the Pandavas, was wagered in a moment of weakness. And Shakuni rolled the dice, and he won. Duryodhan laughed loudly. Bring Draupadi to the court. A servant went to her chambers. Draupadi was shocked. How can a husband who has lost himself in a game still have the right to wager his wife? This question echoed through the palace. Even wise men had no answer. She refused to come, but Duryodhan ordered again. Bring her here, by force, if needed. Draupadi was brought to the hall, trembling but proud. Her eyes sparkled with courage. Even in danger, she stood tall. She asked the elders, if Yudhishthir lost himself first, how could he wager me after that? No one could reply. The court fell silent. When Draupadi was insulted, when her dignity was threatened, the entire universe shook. She cried out to Krishna, "O Govinda, protect me." And far away in Dwarka, Krishna heard her heart. With divine power, he protected her honor, covering her with endless cloth so no insult could touch her. This moment teaches us, whoever stands for truth, Dharma, and pure in heart, God himself stands with them. Bhim roared, I take a pledge today. I will not show my face to my elders unless I have killed Duryodhan and Dushasan. After the terrible event, even the elders realized that great injustice had been done. A new decision was made. The Pandavas must go to 13 years of exile, 12 years living in the forest, and 1 year living in disguise, unseen by anyone. If they were discovered in the final year, the 13 years would start all over again. It was the hardest punishment imaginable. The people of Indraprasth wept, but the Pandavas did not break, and so the 5 brothers and Draupadi left their palace, their kingdom, their comforts. The trees became their new walls, the sky became their roof, and their bond became their greatest strength. This exile would teach them about patience, strength, wisdom, and forgiveness, and it would prepare them for the greatest war the world would ever see. My dear children, what did we learn today? Jealousy destroys even the strongest. Wrong decisions made in anger can ruin lives. Truth and dignity always win in the end. Even in darkness, courage and unity light the path forward. Remember, the Pandavas did not become heroes because they never fell. They became heroes because they always stood up again. We'll meet again for the next story. Until then, Jai Shri Krishna. Dear children, welcome back. Do you remember the day the Pandavas walked away from their palace, leaving behind gold, power, and comfort? That day they did not just leave Hastinapur. They stepped into destiny. Today's story begins where royal roads ended and forest paths began. This is the story of 13 years of exile, years that transformed princes into legends. As the Pandavas walked out of Hastinapur, the city wept. People stood on both sides of the road, their eyes filled with tears. Come back soon. Justice will return. May Dharma protect you. Draupadi walked with her head held high, though her heart ached. Bhim clenched his fists, his anger boiling like fire. Arjun looked up at the sky, silently praying to Krishna. But Yudhishthir walked calmly. He turned to his brothers and said gently, Brothers, today we lose comfort, but not character. A kingdom can be taken away, but Dharma cannot. Soon stone roads turned into muddy paths. Tall trees replaced palace walls. Bird calls replaced court music. The forest welcomed them. Not kindly, but honestly. Life in the forest was harsh. No silk beds, no servants, no royal meals. The Pandavas built small huts from leaves and branches. They ate fruits, roots, and whatever they could gather. Draupadi cooked with her own hands over small clay fires. At night, the cold was a bit hard. During the day, the sun burned fiercely. Sometimes hunger visited them, sometimes fear. But something else grew stronger every day. their bond. Each hardship stitched them closer together. The forest was not empty. It was alive with wisdom. The Pandavas met many great sages, Narad, Markandeya, Lomasha. They listened to stories of ancient kings, of patience, sacrifice, and victory after suffering. One day, Sage Vyasa himself arrived. His eyes were full of compassion. He said, "My children, this exile is not punishment. It is preparation. Gold shines brightest after fire." He advised Arjun to seek divine weapons and prepare for the future war. With blessings from his brothers and Draupadi, Arjun set out alone toward the mighty Himalayas. High in the mountains, Arjun meditated day and night. Snow fell on his shoulders. Cold winds cut his skin. Yet he did not move. Lord Shiva appeared before him, disguised as a hunter. They fought fiercely. When Shiva revealed himself, he smiled proudly. "Your devotion and discipline are unmatched." Arjuna received the Pashupati Astra, the most powerful divine weapon. Later, Indra, his father, took him to heaven and trained him in celestial warfare. Arjun returned stronger, not just in skill, but in humility. Back in the forest, Draupadi's heart often overflowed with pain. One evening she cried out, "Why must truth suffer? Why does injustice sit on the throne?" Bhim roared, "Say the word, Draupadi. I will burn Hastinapur today." But Yudhishthir maintained, "Anger is easy, Bhim. Control is strength." Draupadi listened silently. She wiped her tears. Her suffering did not make her weak. It made her fierce in spirit. The forest tested them constantly. Once they were walking through the forest, when everyone felt thirsty. Yudhishthir saw a lake nearby and asked Nakul to get some water. Nakul went and Yaksha, a divine guardian, appeared. He asked Nakul to answer his question, and only after that he could take the water. Nakul refused and took a sip. He collapsed immediately. Everyone was waiting. Yudhishthir sent Sehdev, Bhim, Arjun. Everyone went and didn't come back. Yudhishthira approached calmly at the end. He saw his brother lying around the lake. Ayaksha, a divine guardian, questioned him. Each answer Yudhishthira gave was filled with wisdom and truth. Pleased, the Yaksha revived his brothers. This moment proved that wisdom could save lives where strength cannot. In the forest hut, they hosted many sages. They had very little food for themselves. How do they serve it to the respectful sages? Draupadi was troubled. She prayed to Sri Krishna. Seeing their hardships, Krishna blessed Draupadi with the Akshaya Patra, a magical vessel that would never run out of food until Draupadi herself had eaten. Now no guest, sage, or traveler ever left their hut hungry. This taught them a powerful lesson. Even in poverty, generosity makes one rich. The forest was also home to danger. Demons troubled sages and innocent villagers. Each time, Bhim rose like a storm. With bare hands, he defeated demons like Kirmira and Jatasura. Strength without arrogance became his identity. Years passed. The Pandavas grew leaner, wiser, stronger. The forest was no longer an enemy. It was their teacher. They learned patience from hunger, courage from fear, unity from loss, hope from despair. Draupadi became their pillar, Yudhishthira their compass, Bhima their shield, Arjuna their weapon, Nakul and Sahadeva their balance. Children, the Pandavas entered the forest as kings without crowns. They emerged as warriors with purpose. They lost a kingdom, but gained character. And that is why history remembers them. What else have we learnt today? Hardships do not break us, they shape us. Patience is greater than anger. Unity is the strongest weapon. True royalty lies in character, not crowns. Next time, children, we will enter the final year of exile, the Agyatvas, where the Pandavas must hide their identity. And one mistake could send them back to the forest again. Until then, Jai Shri Krishna. Dear children, welcome to another session. After 12 long years of forest life, the Pandavas stood at the edge of their final test. This was the most dangerous year of all. One mistake, one careless word, one moment of anger, and their exile would begin all over again. This final year was called Agyatvas, a year of living unknown, unseen, and unrecognized. The Pandavas could not fight openly. They could not reveal their strength. They could not show who they truly were. And yet, destiny was watching every step. The Pandavas gathered under a quiet tree at dawn. Yudhishthir spoke softly. We need a place where no one will suspect us, a kingdom where we can hide in plain sight. After much thought, they chose the kingdom of Matsya, ruled by King Virat, a peaceful land, busy with palace life, soldiers, farmers, dancers, and servants. But to stay hidden, each Pandav had to give up not just his name, but also his identity. And so the brothers chose disguises, roles that would test their patience more than any battle. Yudhishthir, the emperor of Dharma, became Kanka, a quiet court advisor who spoke little and listened more. Bhim, the strongest man on earth, became Bhalav, a palace cook who crushed vegetables with hands that could crush mountains. Arjun, the greatest archer, became Brihanala, a gentle dance and music teacher, hiding weapons behind anklets and veils. Nakul, handsome and skilled, became the keeper of horses, calming wild steeds with a soft voice. Sahadev, wise beyond his years, became the caretaker of cattle, understanding animals like old friends. Draupadi, the queen of queens, became Sairandri, a maid serving Queen Sudeshna, her head bowed, but her spirit unbroken. Thus began their life inside the palace, yet invisible. Days passed slowly. Every moment was dangerous. Yudhishthir had to hide his wisdom, even when wrong decisions were made in court. Bhim had to pretend weakness, even when others mocked him. Arjun had to smile gently, even when his warrior heart burned to fight. But Draupadi suffered the most. She worked quietly, serving the queen, holding her pain inside. And then trouble came. Kichak, the queen's powerful brother, was known for his strength, pride, and cruelty. When his eyes fell on Draupadi, he did not see her dignity. He saw her as something to conquer. Draupadi refused him again and again. Her voice was firm. Her courage is unshaken. He asked his sister to send her to his chambers for some work. Draupadi was afraid, but she obeyed the queen. He tried to hold her, but she ran. She reached the king's court. "Protect me," she shouted. Nobody said anything, and Kichak laughed. Bhim saw this and was furious. That night, in a dark hall, Bhim became a storm. Without revealing himself, he entered his chamber and fought Kichak, and ended his cruelty forever. Draupadi was saved, but the danger was not over. News of the demise of Kichak went to all corners, as only a few warriors could kill him. It reaches Hastinapur as well, where Shakuni, Duryodhan, and Karn discussed that this could be Pandav's. Duryodhan asked the king Susharma of Trigartha to attack King Virat's kingdom. Yudhishthir as Kank suggested the king to take along Bhalav and Nakul and Sahadev, as well as they are known warriors who served Pandavas. They went and fought King Susharma. Meanwhile, the Kauravas attacked Virata's kingdom as well, stealing cattle and mocking the king. Young Prince Uttar rushed to battle, He took Brihanala as his charioteer as suggested by the Draupadi. He reached the battleground, but fear overtook him as soon as he saw the Kauravs' warriors. Bhishma, Drona, Karn. Prince Uta trembled. Then Arjuna spoke calmly. Today, you will see who I truly am. He revealed himself. Arjuna took his celestial weapons hidden in a sacred tree, and alone. He defeated the entire Kaurav's army. Bhishma smiled. Drona bowed his head. Karn withdrew. The year of Agyatwas was complete. King Virat heard the news that his prince defeated all Kaurav warriors. He was overjoyed. The palace was decorated with flowers to welcome him back. He hugged his son, but he was confused. He told the king that it is Brihanala who has defeated Kauravs, and he is none other than Prince Arjun. King Virat bowed in respect. He apologized to Yudhishthir for his behavior. Yudhishthir thanked him for giving them shelter during Agyatwas. 13 years were over. At last, they were free. But children, freedom does not always bring peace. The Pandavas returned to Hastinapur. The people cheered. The elders welcomed them. But Duryodhana's heart burned. Bhishma requested the king to return Indraprastha to Pandavas and bring harmony to the family. Duryodhana shouted, "Not even land the size of a needle!" The palace fell silent. To stop bloodshed, the Pandavas sent Sri Krishna as a messenger. Krishna spoke with calm power. Choose peace, return what is right. But Duryodhana laughed. He even tried to arrest Krishna. And then, Krishna revealed his Vishwarup, the universe itself. Kings trembled, the elders bowed, but Duryodhana's ego did not bend. Peace was rejected. The path to Kurukshetra was set. Sri Krishna chose not to fight, but became Arjun's charioteer. A war unlike any other was coming. Dear children, remember, patience is strength, humility is power, peace is always the first choice, but standing up for justice is necessary. The Pandavas tried peace, but when injustice refused to listen, Dharma prepared for war. Next time when we meet, we will be in the Kurukshetra battle. Till then, dear children, take rest. Jai Shri Krishna. Dear children, welcome back. Kurukshetra is not just a battlefield. It is a place where promises come to die, where teachers face students, where brothers raise weapons against brothers, and where destiny finally speaks louder than choice. Before the war begins, before the conch shells blew, before the dust of battle rose into the sky, the world gathered its greatest warriors. This was not just a war between two families. This was a war between Dharma and Adharma, between duty and desire, between ego and truth. On one side stood the Pandavas, fighting for justice. On the other stood the Kauravas, fighting for pride and power. And between them stood warriors whose names would echo for thousands of years. Yudhishthir, the man who never wanted war. Yudhishthir was born from Dharma itself. From childhood, he believed, truth protects better than weapons. He ruled Indraprastha with fairness. The people loved him, not because he was powerful, but because he listened. Then came the dice game. He lost his kingdom, his brothers, his wife, his freedom, and still. He did not raise his voice. Children often ask, why didn't Yudhishthir stop? Because for him, keeping one's word was greater than winning. Now on the battlefield, Yudhishthir carries a terrible burden. If he wins, thousands will die. If he loses, injustice will rule forever. He does not fight with joy. He fights because running away would be a lie. Yudhishthir is proof that Being good is harder than being strong. He lost everything, yet never lost himself. Bhim, the storm born to break. Bhim was born from Vayu, the god of wind. His strength was frightening even as a child, but his heart was simple. He loved food, he loved laughter, he loved his family, until poison was fed to him, until fire was set to kill him, until Draupadi cried in the court. That day, something changed. Bhim took vows that shook the future. To break Duryodhan's thighs, to tear apart Dushasan. Bhim does not fight for strategy. He fights for unfinished pain. Every step he takes on the battlefield says, this war should never have happened. Bhim teaches us, anger is dangerous, but silence in injustice is worse. When Bhim gets angry, destiny trembles. Arjun, the warrior who put down his bow. Arjun was born from Indra, king of gods. He trained harder than anyone. He focused when others slept. He became the greatest archer the world had seen. And yet, on the battlefield, Arjun lowers his bow, because in front of him stand his grandfather Bhishma. His teacher Dronakarya. Arjun is not afraid of dying. He is afraid of becoming the reason for others' death. That is why Krishna chooses him, not the strongest, not the wisest, but the one who questions his own actions. Arjun fights only after understanding. Doing nothing can also be a sin. The greatest archer who refused to fight. Nakul and Sahadev, the silent pillars. Nakul was beauty with discipline. Sahadev was wisdom with silence. Nakul mastered swords and horses. Sahadev understood time, fate, and stars. Sahadev knew how the war would end, but was cursed to stay silent. Imagine knowing the future and being unable to change it. They fought not for glory, but because family stood before self. They remind us, not all heroes need applause. The warriors who spoke least, but stood the longest. Draupadi, the fire that lit the war. Draupadi was born from fire. She did not choose war. War chose her. Her humiliation in the court was not just an insult. It was the breaking of Dharma. She did not ask Krishna for revenge. She asked, is this justice? The war exists because her question was never answered. Draupadi fights without weapons, yet every warrior fights because of her. She never lifted a weapon, yet started a war. King Drupad, pride that created fire. Drupad was once Drona's friend. When Drona humiliated him publicly, Drupad's pride shattered. Years later, he performed a yajna, not for wealth, but revenge. From fire were born Drishtadhyumna, to kill Drona Draupadi, to change history. One insult, one yajna, and destiny changed. Drishtadhyumna, born to kill his teacher. Drishtadhyumna was born knowing his purpose. He trained under Drona, the man he was destined to kill. No hatred, no confusion, just acceptance. He is destiny walking in human form, trained by the man he was born to defeat. Shikhandi. The key to the invincible Shikhandi in his last birth was Princess Amba. Wronged by Bhishma's vow, she vowed revenge. Reborn, she became the reason Bhishma would fall. Bhishma could not fight her, not because he was weak, but because his own rules trapped him. The warrior Bhishma could not raise his bow against. Born to a hero, trained by legends, but destined for tragedy. Abhimanyu learned the secrets of war before he was even born. While still in his mother Subhadra's womb, he listened as Arjuna explained the deadly Chakravyuh formation to his mother. But destiny played its cruel game. Subhadra fell asleep before the lesson was complete. Abhimanyu learned how to enter the Chakravyuh, but never learned how to escape it. Still, when the moment came, this young warrior did not hesitate. Surrounded by the greatest warriors of the Kaurava army, armed with broken weapons, fighting against unfair rules, Abhimanyu fought like a lion cub among wolves, not because he thought he would win, but because retreat was not in his blood. His fall would become the moment that turned war into personal vengeance. The Kaurav army stood vast and intimidating, stretching across the horizon like a dark storm. It carried the might of the largest kingdom in Bharat, filled with seasoned warriors, royal banners, and weapons sharpened by years of ambition. This was an army built on power, pride, and the belief that strength alone decides destiny, led by the mighty Duryodhan, the king who refused peace. At the very front of the Kaurav army stands Duryodhan, crowned king of Hastinapur, son of Dhritarashtra, and the man whose choices pushed the world towards war. He was not weak. He was tall, powerful, trained in mace warfare, and fearless in battle. As a warrior, he never stepped back, but inside him lived a storm he could never quiet. From childhood, he watched the Pandavas grow, loved by elders, praised by citizens, guided by Krishna. And every cheer for Yudhishthir felt like a wound to Duryodhan's pride. His greatest fear was not defeat. It was the thought that someone else might be better than him. When peace was offered, he refused. When Krishna himself came as a messenger, Duryodhan laughed and tried to imprison God. Not because he did not understand the consequences, but because accepting peace would mean accepting that he was wrong. Now, on the battlefield, Duryodhan does not fight for victory alone. He fights to prove that his choices were justified, that his hatred was right, that his pride was worth the blood. And that is his tragedy. He could have ruled peacefully. He could have shared the kingdom. But he chose ego over harmony and made war inevitable. He wasn't defeated by enemies. He was defeated by his ego. Shakuni, the man who destroyed kingdoms without lifting a weapon. Shakuni stands behind the throne. His hands are empty, yet stained with more blood than any warrior's. Shakuni was once a prince of Gandharva. His family was humiliated, imprisoned, starved, broken by Hastinapur's politics. He survived, but survival turned into vengeance. Shakuni never picked up a sword. He never charged into battle. Instead, he mastered something far more dangerous, the human mind. He whispered doubt into Duryodhan's ear. He fed jealousy, fear, and anger, slowly, patiently, and when the time was right, he placed dice on a board. With every roll, he stripped the Pandavas of their kingdom, their honor, their freedom. Shakuni proves a terrifying truth. You do not need weapons to destroy a world. You only need manipulation, timing, and patience. As war begins, Shakuni knows his work is done. He does not need to fight. The fire he lit will burn everything. He never lifted a weapon, yet caused the greatest war in history. Bhishma, the invincible who could not win Ganga Putra. Bhishma stands like a mountain, ancient, immovable, unmatched. He is the greatest warrior of his time. No one can defeat him in battle. He holds the power to choose the moment of his own death. And yet, Bhishma is the most tragic figure on the battlefield. Long ago, he took a vow of lifelong celibacy and loyalty to the throne of Hastinapur. That vow gave him invincibility, but it also chained him. Bhishma knows the Pandavas are right. He knows Duryodhan walks the path of adharma. He knows the war should never have happened. And still, he raises his weapons against the side of truth, because his vow does not allow him to choose justice, only loyalty. Bhishma fights with honor, not hatred. Every arrow he releases is heavy with sorrow. Every step forward is a step against his own conscience. He is proof that vows, when taken without wisdom, can become prisons. He could choose his death, but not his side. Dronacharya, the teacher broken by attachment. He enters the battlefield with bowed head and heavy heart. He is the greatest teacher who ever lived, trainer of kings, master of weapons, royal guru of Hastinapur, guru to both Pandavas and Kauravas. He taught Arjuna everything he knew. He shaped heroes. But Drona had one weakness, attachment, his love for his son, Ashwatthama. He did not fight for Adharma. He fought because a father feared for his son, and a teacher was trapped by duty. When Duryodhana promised security for Ashwatthama, Drona accepted, even knowing the Kaurav cause was unjust. Now he faces his own students across the battlefield. He knows their strengths because he gave them those skills, and that knowledge breaks him. Drona does not fight with hatred, he fights with resignation. His tragedy is not defeat, it is fighting despite knowing he is wrong. Karn, the hero born on the wrong side. He stands radiant, powerful, alone, born the son of the sun god, abandoned at birth, raised as a charioteer's son, yet possessing the soul of a king. Karn spent his life proving he was worthy. Every insult carved him sharper. Every rejection hardened his resolve. He was equal to Arjun, sometimes greater, more generous, more loyal. When Duryodhan gave him respect, Karn gave him his life. Even after learning the truth, that he was the eldest Pandav son,
brother to the Pandavas.
Karn did not change sides, because for Karna, loyalty mattered more than blood. He knows the cause is wrong, but abandoning Duryodhan would mean betraying the one man who stood by him when the world mocked him. Karn fights not for victory, but for honor. Ashwatthama, the uncontrolled fire. Ashwatthama enters the war burning with rage, son of Dronacharya, raised with scarcity, starved of love, approval, and recognition. He grew up watching others praised while he carried the burden of expectations. Ashwatthama fights not for dharma, not for loyalty, but for validation. His anger does not cool with victory. It grows, and when the war ends, his rage will not. Ashwatthama represents the danger of power without wisdom, strength without restraint. He is not just a warrior, he is a warning. When anger survives even after war ends, Jayadratha, the man who stopped the Pandavas. Jayadratha was not the strongest warrior, he was not the bravest, but one moment of cowardly ambition made his name echo through history. During the Chakravyu battle, when Abhimanyu fought alone, Jayadratha stood at the edge of destiny. Using a boon granted by Shiva, he blocked Bhim, Yudhishthir, Nakul, and Sahadev from entering the battlefield. 4 Pandavas stopped by one man. This single act allowed the Kauravas to surround Abhimanyu unfairly. When Arjuna learned of this, he did not hesitate. He took a vow before the setting sun. By tomorrow's sunset, Jayadratha will be dead, or I will enter fire. The next day, the sun itself paused to witness Jayadratha's fate. Children, these warriors are not good or bad. They are human. Kurukshetra is where choices meet consequences, promises demand payment, Dharma stands on trial. And tomorrow, Krishna will speak. The Bhagavad Gita will begin. Jai Shri Krishna. Children, before the first arrow flew, before the conch shells echoed across Kurukshetra, something far more important happened. A conversation. A warrior broke down, and a divine guide spoke. Arjuna, voice trembling. Krishna, please stop the chariot. My hands are shaking. My bow is slipping. Those standing before me are not enemies. They are my grandfather Bhishma, my teacher Dronacharya, my own cousins. How can I fight them? What victory is worth this sorrow? Krishna, calm, resonant voice recites.
अशोचानन वशोचस्त्वम प्रज्ञावादांश्च भाषसे
गतासु नक्तासूंश्च नानुशोचन्ति पंडिताः.
Arjuna, confused. Krishna, why do you say I grieve unnecessarily? Is this not compassion? Krishna, Arjuna, you speak words of wisdom, yet your sorrow is misplaced. The wise grieve neither for the living nor the dead, because they see beyond the body. Krishna recites again.
न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन्नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूय. अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे.
Arjuna, they will die, Krishna. How can I not grieve? Krishna, the body is born and the body dies, but the soul is unborn, eternal and indestructible. Weapons can destroy flesh. They cannot touch the soul. Arjuna, if I stop feeling pain, will I not lose compassion? Krishna recites.
जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युर्ध्रुवं जन्म मृतस्य च. तस्मात् परिहार्ये अर्थेन त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि.
Krishna, compassion is pure, Arjuna. Attachment binds. For one who is born, death is certain. For one who dies, birth is certain again, grieving over the unavoidable clouds of the mind. Arjuna, then tell me honestly, Krishna, should I drop my bow and walk away? Would that not be peaceful? Krishna recites firmly.
स्वधर्ममपि चावेक्ष्य न विकम्पितुमर्हसि. धर्म्याद्य युद्धात् श्रेयोऽन्यत् क्षत्रियस्य न विद्यते.
Krishna, for a warrior, there is no greater duty than a righteous battle. Running away from duty is not peace. It is fear wearing the mask of peace. Arjuna, but what if my actions bring destruction? What if I fail? Krishna recites calmly.
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन. मा कर्मफल हेतुर्भुवा मा ते संगोऽस्त्व कर्मणि.
Krishna, you have the right to act, Arjuna, not to the fruits of action. Do your duty without craving success and without fearing failure. Arjuna, then what is the right way to act, Krishna? Krishna recites.
योगस्थ कुरु कर्माणि संगम त्यक्त्वा धनंजय. सिद्ध सिद्ध्योः समो भूत्वा समत्वं योग उच्यते.
Krishna, act with balance, equal in success and failure. This balance of mind is yoga. Arjuna, how can fighting become sacred? Krishna recites.
यज्ञार्थात् कर्मणोऽन्यत्र लोकोऽयं कर्म बन्धनः. तदर्थं कर्म कौन्तेय मुक्त संगः समाचर.
Krishna, when action is done as an offering to Dharma, it frees the soul. Work done for ego binds. Work done for righteousness liberates. Arjuna, my mind still shakes, Krishna. Show me the truth beyond all doubt. Krishna, voice echoes, recites.
कालोऽस्मि लोकक्षयकृत् प्रवृद्धो लोकान् स्माहर्तुमिह प्रवृत्तः. रतेऽपि त्वां न भविष्यन्ति सर्वे येव स्थिताः. प्रत्यनीकेषु योद्धाः.
Krishna, I am time, Arjuna. All warriors here are already destined. You are merely my instrument. Arjuna, kneeling, voice steady. Krishna, tell me the final truth. Krishna recites softly.
सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज. अहं त्वा सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः.
Krishna, surrender unto me alone. I will free you from fear and sorrow. Do not grieve. Arjuna, calm, clear. My confusion is gone. I will do my duty, not with anger, but with wisdom. He lifts Gandiva. The Bhagavad Gita was not spoken to the world. It was spoken to one confused heart. And when that heart found clarity, history changed. The conch shells blew. The war of Kurukshetra began. What did we learn today? Asking questions is courage. Doing your duty matters more than fear. Balance brings peace. Right action is true worship. Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna. Dear children, the Bhagavad Gita has been spoken. Arjun's doubts have faded. His bow, Gandiva, is steady once more. Two vast armies stand face to face on Kurukshetra. Horses stamp the earth. Dust floats in the golden air. Yet the war does not begin, because Bhishma Pitamah has not blown his conch shell. Bhishma stands at the head of the Kaurav army, white-haired, calm, unmoving like a mountain. He is the commander of the Kaurav forces. Until he gives the signal, no warrior can lift a weapon. Duryodhan senses something is wrong. He is getting restless. Yudhishthir steps down from his chariot. Gasps ripple across the battlefield. Unarmed, he walks alone across the field of death, towards the enemy commander. Arrows could fly, but none do. Yudhishthir bows deeply before Bhishma. Pitamah, he says, before this terrible war begins, I seek your permission and your blessings. My child, Bhishma says, you have already won by choosing Dharma. He blesses him. May truth protect you. May righteousness stands by your side. Then, Bhishma raises his conch shell. The sound echoes across Kurukshetra. The war begins. Conch shells roar. Drums thunder. War cries fill the sky. Arjun fires arrows with unmatched skill. Bhim charges like a storm, breaking enemy lines. Duryodhan fights fiercely, swinging his mace with pride and rage. But above all warriors stands Bhishma. Bhishma fights like time itself. His arrows fall like rain. Entire Pandav divisions collapse. Thousands of soldiers fall. Even Arjun struggles to protect his army. Bhishma does not strike the Pandavas directly, but he destroys their strength. By sunset, the battlefield is silent with loss. Krishna watches quietly until he cannot. He sees Arjun hesitate again and again. Suddenly, Krishna leaps from the chariot, lifts a broken chariot wheel, and walks toward Bhishma. If Arjun will not fight for Dharma, Krishna roars, then I will. The earth seems to tremble. Arjun drops his bow and runs. He falls at Krishna's feet. Oh, Madhava, do not break your vow because of me. Krishna stops. This is not compassion, Arjun, he says. This is attachment. Arjun rises again, clear-eyed, resolved. I will fight. Night falls. The Pandavas sit in silence. Yudhishthir is troubled. How can we win? He asks, when Bhishma himself fights against us. Krishna answers softly. Only Bhishma knows how Bhishma can fall. That night, the Pandavas walk into the Kaurav camp. They bow before Bhishma. Bhishma is surprised. Why have you come? Yudhishthir replies, to ask how this war can end. Bhishma smiles sadly. My vow binds me, he says, but hear this truth. I will never raise a weapon against a woman. The secret is revealed. The next day, Shikhandi rides to the front.
Yes, it has been my life's mission to vanquish him.
Bhishma sees him and lowers his bow. Arjun fires arrow after arrow, not with hatred but duty. Bhishma falls, but he does not die. He lies calmly on a bed of arrows, his body supported by shafts. His face is peaceful. The war stops. Bhishma speaks. I am not dead. I hold the boon of Ichamrityu. I will choose the moment of my death. I will leave this body only when the war is over and the sun turns north. All warriors stand silent. The Pandavas approach first. They bow deeply. Krishna steps forward and bows. Your duty is complete, Pitamah. Bhishma smiles. The Kauravas follow. Even Duryodhan lowers his head. Teachers, students, enemies, family, all stand before Bhishma Pitamah. The sun sets. The greatest warrior of his age has fallen, yet still lives. Children, the war has begun, and already many warriors are dead. Bhim has already killed many Kaurav brothers, and today it has taken something priceless. The next commander will rise, and the war will grow darker. What have we learnt today? Respect can cross even battle lines. In war, everyone loses, but you shall always fight for Dharma, for what is right. Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna. Dear children, the first day of the Great War had ended. Bhishma Pitamah lay on his bed of arrows, alive yet fallen. The battlefield was silent, but only for a moment, because war does not pause for grief. With Bhishma unable to fight, the Kauravas faced a difficult question. Who could lead an army when the greatest warrior had fallen? All eyes turned to Dronakarya, the royal guru of Hastinapur, teacher of the Pandavas, teacher of the Kauravas. Dronakarya did not want this role. His heart was heavy, but duty called. Duryodhan bowed and said, Guruji, lead us, protect Hastinapur. Drona closed his eyes. He knew this war was wrong, yet he also knew he could not abandon his duty. And so, Dronakarya became the Senapati. Until now, Karn had not fought. Bhishma had denied him to fight in the battle so far. Now Karn stepped forward. He bowed before Dronakarya. Guru, he said, give me permission to fight. Drona nodded. The sunborn warrior had entered the battlefield. The war grew fiercer. Dronacharya knew one truth. As long as Yudhishthira lived, the Pandavas would never break. Duryodhan proposed. If you capture Yudhishthir, I promise I won't kill him, and the war will be over. Drona assumed that he would give them some land, and their dispute would be resolved. I will not kill my students, Drona confirmed, but I will capture their king. To do this, he ordered the formation of the Chakravyu, a spinning, deadly circle of warriors from which escape was nearly impossible. Only Arjun and Sri Krishna knew its secrets. Duryodhan asked Sri Sarma, king of Trigartha, to challenge Arjun and take him away from the main battlefield. The next morning, Sri Sarma challenged Arjun. Arjun had to accept. Krishna sensed danger, but fate moved faster. The Kauravas created a distraction far from the main battlefield. Arjuna, protector of Yudhishthira, was pulled away. The center was left exposed, and that was when Drona gave the signal. Chakravyu was formed. The Pandavas panicked. Yudhishthir, Bhim, Nakul, and Sahadev. No one knew how to break it. How do we break it? They cried. Then a young voice spoke. I know how to enter. It was Abhimanyu, son of Arjuna, nephew of Krishna, barely 16 years old. He had learned the secret in his mother Subhadra's womb. He did not know how to exit, but he did not hesitate. Bhim said, Don't worry. You help us enter the Chakravyu. We will break it. Abhimanyu entered the Chakravyu like a comet of courage. But Jaydrath, who had received the boon from Shivji, stopped all four brothers single-handedly. Inside, Abhimanyu fought like a lion. One by one, great warriors fell back. Drona watched in awe. Even Karna was stunned. But courage alone was not enough. The Kaurava warriors broke all rules. They attacked together, from all sides, with weapons forbidden by Dharma. Abhimanyu's bow broke. His chariot shattered. Still he fought, with a wheel, with his fists, with his breath. At last, the young hero fell. The battlefield froze. The war had crossed a line. When Arjuna returned and saw his son's body, the earth shook with his cry. He took a vow before the setting sun. By tomorrow's sunset, I will kill Jayadrath, the man who blocked the Pandavas and trapped my son, or I will enter fire. The war paused. Everyone knew. If Arjuna failed, the Pandavas would lose hope. The next day, the Kauravas hid Jayadratha, behind warriors, behind shields, behind fear. Time slipped away. The sun began to descend. Then Krishna did something extraordinary. He created an illusion. The sun appeared to set early. Jayadratha smiled in relief, and in that instant, Arjuna released his arrow. Krishna removed the illusion. The sun still shone. Jayadratha fell. Arjun's vow was fulfilled. But the war demanded more blood. Dronakarya became unstoppable. The Pandavas were breaking. Then Krishna whispered to Bhim, "Kill that elephant, Bhim." Bhim said, "But why, Krishna?" Krishna replied, "Do you know his name? His name is Ashwatthama." Bhim understood. He threw a mace at the elephant, and it fell. Bhim shouted, "I have killed Ashwatthama! I have killed Ashwatthama!" Dronacharya froze. He went to Yudhishthir. "Is it true?" he asked. Yudhishthir lowered his head and said softly, "Ashwatthama is dead." The elephant. Drona heard only the first part. His bow fell. His will broke. At that moment, Drishtadyuman, born to kill Drona, fulfilled destiny. Dronacharya fell, a teacher, a father, a tragic warrior. Dear children, today we learned, war destroys rules before it destroys people. Courage without protection can be fatal. Unfair victories leave permanent scars. Even the greatest teachers fall when attachment blinds wisdom. The war of Kurukshetra had now become personal, and darker days were still to come. Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna. Dear children, the war of Kurukshetra had entered its darkest phase. Two great commanders had fallen. Bhishma Pitamah lay on his bed of arrows. Dronacharya, the greatest teacher of all, had met his tragic end. Now the battlefield trembled, not with strategy, but with destiny. The Kaurav army needed a new leader. All eyes turned to one man, Karn, the son of the sun god, a warrior of unmatched generosity, a hero who had lived his entire life proving his worth. Duryodhan stepped forward and said, "Friend Karn, the Kaurav army is now yours. Lead us to victory." Karn accepted silently. He knew this war would decide everything. But before fate could move forward, we must remember a moment from Karn's past. Long ago, Indra himself, king of the gods and father of Arjun, came to Karn in disguise. Indra knew Karn was protected by his divine armor and earrings, the Kavach and Kundal, which made him nearly invincible. He knew this gift would cost him his life. Yet Karn did not hesitate. With a smile, he cut away his Kavach and Kundal and offered them to charity. Moved by his generosity, Indra granted Karn a boon, a single divine weapon, the Shakti Astra, which would never fail but could be used only once. Karn saved that weapon for one purpose alone: to kill Arjun. Back on the battlefield. As Karn became commander, the earth shook with a terrifying roar. Ghatotkach had arrived, Bhim's son, born of the Rakshasi Hidimba, a warrior of night, illusion, and monstrous strength. Under the cover of darkness, Ghatotkacha attacked. Where his mace fell, soldiers vanished. Where his illusions rose, armies collapsed. Elephants flew into the sky. Chariots shattered. The Kaurav army panicked. Thousands fell. By morning, Duryodhan was trembling with fear. His laughter echoed across Kurukshetra. When the night finally grew silent, Ghatotkacha returned to the Pandava camp, victorious, glowing with battle fire. Bhim stepped forward with pride shining in his eyes. He embraced his son tightly. "My brave warrior," Bhim said, his voice filled with emotion. Ghatotkacha bowed to Yudhishthira. He saluted Arjuna, and then he folded his hands before Shri Krishna. Krishna looked at him with deep understanding, as if he already knew what destiny had written. "Rest tonight," Krishna said softly. "Tomorrow you will be needed again." The next day, when the sun rose high and bright, Ghatotkacha returned to the battlefield. This time in broad daylight. Even without the cover of darkness, he was unstoppable. With every swing of his mace, hundreds fell. With every roar, fear spread through the Kaurava ranks. The Kaurava army began collapsing in thousands. Duryodhana watched in horror. "If this continues," he cried, "we will be destroyed before sunset." He rushed to Karna. "Do something! Stop him!" Karna stood silent, watching the devastation. "I have one weapon," he said slowly, "the Shakti Astra, but I have saved it for Arjuna." Duryodhana's voice trembled with panic. "If Gatotkacha is not stopped now, there will be no Arjuna left to kill. He will finish this war himself." Karna understood. This was the moment destiny demanded. If he did not act, the Kaurava army would crumble. If he did act, he would lose his only chance to defeat Arjuna. For a brief moment, Karna closed his eyes. Then he lifted the Shakti Astra. Lightning tore through the sky. The divine weapon flew straight toward Gatotkacha. It struck him with unstoppable force. The mighty warrior staggered. But even in death, Gatotkacha did not fall quietly. The earth shook. Silence followed. Bhim ran forward, his heart shattered. "My son," he whispered. But beside him, Krishna smiled gently. Not in cruelty, not in joy, but in relief. Bhim turned to him in confusion. "How can you smile at such a moment?" Krishna spoke softly. "The weapon Karna used today was meant for Arjuna. It could be used only once. Now it is gone." Bhim understood. Gatotkacha had not only fought bravely, he had saved Arjuna's life. The next day, destiny brought two legends face to face, Arjuna and Karn. Arrows clashed like thunder. The earth trembled. At the same time, Bhim remembered his vow when he saw Dushasan, the man who had humiliated Draupadi. Bhim attacked him with unstoppable fury. The mace battle began. With a final blow, Dushasan fell. Bhim fulfilled his oath, carrying the blood to Draupadi and saying, "Justice has been served." Nearby, Sahadeva faced Shakuni, the mastermind, the man of dice. With one strike, Shakuni fell. And the poison that began the war was silenced forever. Now only one battle remained, Arjuna versus Karn. Karn's chariot wheel sank into the earth. He asked for time. Krishna spoke softly. "When Dharma is broken, mercy cannot stand." Arjuna hesitated, then remembered his duty. The arrow flew. Karn fell, a great hero, born royal, lived rejected, and died loyal to the wrong cause. The battlefield fell silent. Dear children, today's story teaches us great generosity does not erase wrong choices. Power without Dharma leads to tragedy. Destiny protects righteousness, even though sacrifice. And heroes are remembered not only for strength, but for truth. The war was not yet over. One final battle remained, Bhim, Duryodhan, and the last judgment of Dharma. We will meet again in the next story. Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna. Dear children, the war of Kurukshetra had reached its final breath. Karn had fallen. Shakuni was dead. Dushasan lay defeated. The mighty warriors of the Kaurav army were gone. The army had lost its spirit. The sun rose on the 18th day of the war, but the Kaurav army did not appear on the battlefield. Seeing his army destroyed, Duryodhan fled, not out of cowardice, but out of shock. He hid inside a lake, using mystical powers to remain underwater. The Pandavas searched for him. Krishna smiled and said, "He hides not because he fears death, but because he fears defeat." Bhim roared into the lake. "Duryodhan, come out, or I will drink this lake dry." Unable to bear the insult, Duryodhan emerged. Still proud, still unbroken. Yudhishthir gave him the option to choose the weapon of his choice and the opponent he wished to fight. He chose his weapon, the mace, and he chose his opponent, Bhim. But before this final duel, something powerful had happened. Gandhari, mother of 100 sons, she sent word to Duryodhan, "Come to me after bathing. Come without clothes." Her eyes held divine power. She wished to make her son invincible. On the way, Duryodhana met Krishna. Krishna gently said, "You are a grown warrior? At least cover yourself." Duryodhan wrapped banana leaves around his waist. When Gandhari looked at him, her gaze turned his body as hard as Vajra, like thunder, unbreakable. But the leaves blocked her sight from his thighs, and through destiny left a single opening. Just before the mace battle, Balram, elder brother of Krishna and mentor of both Duryodhan and Bhim, arrived. The mace battle began. Blow after blow thundered across Kurukshetra. Duryodhan was magnificent, strong, skilled, precise. Bhim struck with fury, but nothing seemed to work. His body was like iron. Bhim was shocked, yet he continued fighting with fierce determination. Krishna observed silently. Then he tapped his own thigh. Bhim remembered. Years ago, Duryodhana had slapped his thigh in the royal court and insulted Draupadi. That day, Bhim had sworn, "I will break that thigh." But striking below the waist was against the rules. Bhim hesitated. Krishna's eyes said what words did not. Adharma cannot hide behind rules. With a roar that shook the earth, Bhim leapt and shattered Duryodhana's thigh. The sound echoed across history. Duryodhan fell. Balram roared and moved to strike Bhim, angry that he had broken the rules of the mace battle. Krishna intervened and asked him why he had not intervened when Duryodhana had broken all the rules of Dharma. Balram left the place. Duryodhan lay on the ground, broken and alone. But the war was not over. That night, Ashwatthama burned with rage. In blind fury, he entered the Pandav camp at night. Sleeping warriors, unarmed soldiers. He killed the 5 sons of Draupadi, believing he had killed all 5 Pandav brothers. Afterward, he went to Rishi Vyasa's ashram. The Pandavas and Krishna arrived there, where Bhim and Arjun challenged him to come out. In his final act of hatred, Ashwatthama released a divine weapon toward the Pandavas. In response, Arjun had to release his Brahmastra as well. Rishi Vyas stopped the 2 weapons and asked both of them to withdraw their astras, as they would destroy the earth. Arjun withdrew his weapon, but Ashwatthama did not know how to. Instead, he redirected it toward the womb of Uttara, where Abhimanyu's unborn child lived. Ashwatthama was stripped of his divine jewel. Shri Krishna cursed him to wander the earth in pain. Krishna stepped forward and protected the child. That child would be named Parikshit. The Pandav lineage survived. Dharma survived. When the Pandavas returned to Hastinapur, Dhritarashtra welcomed all the Pandava brothers. He asked specifically for Bhim, but Krishna sensed his intention and replaced Bhim with an iron statue. When Dhritarashtra embraced what he thought was Bhim, his heart still burned with anger. He tried to crush him in his arms. The statue shattered. So did Dhritarashtra's anger. Grief replaced rage. Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, and Kunti later left Hastinapur for the forest, leaving the kingdom to the new generation. Kurukshetra was silent. The Pandavas had won. But at what cost? There were no celebrations, only ashes, only lessons, children. Mahabharata is not just a story of war. It is a mirror. It shows us what happens when greed grows, when pride refuses peace, when vows trap wisdom, and when Dharma must fight to survive. And at the center of it all stood Krishna, not as a warrior, but as a guide. Jai Shri Krishna.